Hello and welcome to Eerie International. This is episode 466. I'm Andi from Germany.
And I'm Dave from the UK.
Dave, when has been the last time that it was only just the two of us on this podcast? I think it's been a while.
I mean, was it Eurovision sort of time? I don't know. I would have to do more research than I'm currently willing to do. But yeah, it's been a little while.
Yeah, I think so too. I was about to joke that, of course, once we're doing a European movie, the American opts to not do the episode, but well, that's actually not the case. David wanted to do this episode, but then life happened, a lot of stuff going on. He ran short on time and selfishly decided to rather spend the time with his kid than doing this episode with us.
What a dick move. No, we both, like, the moment that he mentioned that it was a case of spending more time with Daniel, it was like both of us were like, oh no, absolutely. Like, you have to, like, family comes first, always. And we all believe that that's the case.
We've mentioned it like 100 times. This is how the podcast originally started, with the plan that it was only just two of us each episode and that we would rotate and then every one of us wanted to be in every episode, but this is always the backup. When one of us is sick or on holiday or has something going on, there's still two that can do an episode, and so it's always totally fine, of course. But yeah, as I said, David wanted to be on the episode. He agreed on this topic. And so what is the topic, Dave?
Well, we're going to be talking about Dog Soldiers from 2002 this week, which I'm pretty sure that David has seen before. So even if he didn't have time to watch the movie in time for next week, we can probably ask him for his general thoughts on it. So people aren't going to be missing out on David's thoughts on Dog Soldiers. We'll quiz him about it next week. We'll grill him. But yeah, that's...
You don't remember to do that next week.
I will try. I will really try. And I'm sure that our 7 listeners will probably all email in and remind us.
I just want to make sure that everyone knows Dave is making promises that he has to back up. I'm not.
I've already taken on a lot of responsibility this week. We do actually have some very good news regarding that, which we'll get to in a minute. But yeah, so Dog Soldiers, which we'll go into the details later, but people will probably remember that it was Sean Pertwee that was kind of front and center in that movie, although not the main character. So yeah, but that will be later on. We've still got things that we need to do. Andy, we need to let people know how they get in contact with us, and we need to talk about what we've been watching this week. So I think it's eerieinternational@gmail.com, the email. Stop me at any point if I'm wrong with this, Andy. We're also on a limited number of social medias these days. You can still find us on Twitter, but we're not technically... We don't use Twitter anymore. I don't think any of us are logged into the account anymore. It's just... It's not a good place to be. Individually, you can find us on places like Instagram and Blue Sky. And we are, as a podcast, on Instagram. Andy is very good in posting updates on what we're watching next week, and he always generates some cool little bits of artwork to not on AI, I should point out. We're not lazy. We're not dicks. Andy does it the proper way. He finds 2 images and he slices them together.
Not always, but when it makes sense. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
When we did that science fiction double feature, it just is easier. Instead of posting 2 separate images, I have this
collage
that makes collages. And,
there you go.
Fiddle around with that a bit.
So we're talking about werewolves this week. what else? Was there anything else? Social media, email. We don't have any emails this week, I don't think, do we, Andy?
No messages this week. But if you want to reach out, email and Instagram are your safe bets. I look onto the Instagram account regularly. So if you want to send a message on there, that's totally fine. Or you can reach us via email. But no messages this week. That's also correct.
David
we
normally
have made
makes this
plans
sound
for the
easier.
upcoming weeks, which we are not going to present yet because, of course, anything can change at any time.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time we go week by week but currently we actually have like the next 4 episodes or so, 4 or 5 episodes planned out. And we will have a guest at some point during those episodes, at least.
That's the plan.
The way that it is currently planned with us and the person and the movies that we want to talk about. Dave, what's been going on in your horror realm this week?
Oh, let's have a little look, shall we? I have a note app which I'm currently looking for. Here we go. Right, so 2 things that I watched, and then one thing that I wanted to watch as a result of one of the things I did watch, but didn't get around to watching. So, first up, the second part of the Bad Movie Bible's borrowing Blockbusters, Maxpoloitation, was released on YouTube this week. And a very good watch it was too. There's not much I can really say about this outside of it finally gets around to talking about Turbo Kid, as well as a movie from about 2012 called Doomsday. I don't know if you remember this one, Andy. It was set in the Highlands of Scotland.
It's directed by the director of today's topic, Neil Marshall. So I have not seen Doomsday because it's not easy to find in Germany uncut. But it's a movie that I've been wanting to see for a long time. So, yeah.
So I've seen bits and bobs of it, as is normally my way. Things get shown on TV, I turn on halfway through, and I'm like, okay, I'll watch the rest of this. And then in my head, I piece together how things worked, which, spoilers, is exactly how I first got round to watching Dog Soldiers. But yeah, the second part of Maxpoloitation was very good. It does give love to Turbo Kid. Normally with this show, and you're familiar with Bad Movie Bible, Andy. I think you may have been one of the people that turned me onto it. He talks about these movies with a love that a lot of other critics would not have for them. You know, like other critics would be like, these are terrible movies that are kind of like creatively bankrupt and they've got no worth to society. Whereas Rob Hill tends to come from it from a point of view of, well, it's not a good movie, but it's entertaining. And you can see where they're kind of trying to do the best with what they've got. And he's not blind to the fact that some of these movies are really cheap cash-ins, but that doesn't stop him from trying to find the positives in them. He will also call out the absolute trash that is on this list as well, as he does in this episode. But Turbo Kid is absolutely one of the movies that he just lavishes praise on in the 30 seconds that he has to talk about it. Because the nature of this I was going to call it a TV series. The nature of this YouTube series is that there are so many movies that he talks about that very few of them get enough time for him to properly flesh them out. And the worse a movie is, the more time he tends to spend on them. So the fact that Turbo Kid gets 30 seconds probably tells you that he likes that movie a lot, and there's not much that he has to say about it that's bad.
Also, I think that he often mentions, because the topic of this 2-parter is Mad Max ripoffs, so to speak. And then he often mentions movies that have an element of that, but aren't entirely that. So he doesn't spend too much time on those movies, but he just mentions them and shows a clip or so.
Yeah, like the level of knowledge and research that this guy has and goes into on these films is just mind-boggling. Like, where he finds these movies apart from anything else. But then he's an academic. He's written books. That's my idea of what an academic is. You've written a book, you're an academic. Might not be the dictionary definition, but it works for me. But yeah, I'm always impressed with the level of detail that he is able to go into with some of these, the number of films he's able to bring up, and just the way he discusses them. Just it's my kind of YouTube film discourse. I'd much rather watch 100 hours of this than 100 hours of the drunk movie critic or whatever the fuck his name is. I think we all know who I'm talking about here. He's an absolute hack. Anyway, the other thing that I watched, and forgive me, Andy, you know this is always going to happen. This isn't really anything to do with horror, but it is actually more to do with the show in general. I've been watching a video from a user called Tentacrul, who is a guy who has worked on the development of a lot of audio software over the years, and he seems to specialize in being parachuted into projects that have been going on for a while and need a fresh pair of eyes and maybe a slight fresh direction. And his latest project is he's been brought in to oversee the development of Audacity version 4. Now, to lift the curtain slightly, for those who don't know, this show, as well as many podcasts that you listen to, is edited using Audacity. I use a very, very old version of Audacity. It's so old that the playhead button is still circular, which, if anyone knows anything about Audacity, you'll know how old that makes it. I just get on really well with that version, so I've not bothered to upgrade, and that may or may not be the best idea, because more features come along, and I've been watching videos recently that go into they do deep dives, and they go into the weeds on how to use all these features to edit your audio, and I think I might have to upgrade to a newer version very soon. But they went into a lot of detail about how they're redesigning Audacity, the logo's changing, which is apparently all that anyone actually cares about. But they're having to move it onto a different platform as well, because it's an open source program. First and foremost, that's important to know. And the way that it's been developed over the years, a lot of the code is kind of tied up and dependent on other lines of code. It's not separated out, and it's not really been built with future upgrading necessarily in mind. It's about, let's make this work now. So it's a bit of a rat's nest of code line. So they've basically just gone in and taken a broom with them and swept clean, and they're doing everything from the ground up. And I think it's an interesting watch for anyone that either makes podcasts or is interested in the development and the editing of podcasts, just to see what the future is for this kind of software. So that was something that I definitely took some interest in. And then the thing that came up on the Bad Movie Bible that I wanted to watch and I didn't get around to, and I'm kind of interested to know if you've seen this movie, Andy, or not. It's a movie from 2013 called Bounty Killer. And Rob Hill was effusive about this. Like, he said I can't remember his exact words, but he basically said it has these amazing visual flourishes, but it's very obviously kind of like a film that wasn't put together narratively with much care. Like, there's great action, there's some really nice use of the camera, but the plot isn't really all that. It's kind of middle of the road. But he seemed to enjoy it enough that I immediately wrote it on my phone as something that I wanted to watch, and it is indeed available on Amazon Prime, so I'll probably watch it in the next week. I hope that I will watch it in the next week. I always say I'm going to watch this thing, and then I never get round to it. But yeah, so that's definitely something that I'm interested to see. Are you at all aware of this movie, Andy?
When he showed it in his video, and now looking it up again, it seemed like a DVD cover that I've seen, but not a movie that I've seen.
Gotcha.
But it is one of those And I will talk about this phenomenon when it's my turn. It's one of those movies where it's a very cheap movie, but it stars people that you've seen in bigger things when
Mm,
bigger things were possible for them. So Kristana Loken and Gary Busey and Beverly D'Angelo are in this movie.
mm.
And that's always a fun time. But again, I will talk about this. I have something similar on my list.
Oh, okay. Well, let's not waste any time. I'm done with
Okay.
my list, Andy. So let's hear yours.
All right. So I'll begin with the other thing. We rewatched Grave Encounters, a movie that Bianca, like every few years, just likes to watch. And the, there's two movies that she showed me relatively early on during our relationship: Banshee Chapter and Grave Encounters. And whenever she mentions one of those movies, in my mind, I cannot separate them. I always have to check which is Banshee Chapter, which is Grave Encounters. I'm never sure. And as far as my memory goes, I liked one and I didn't like the other, and I never know which one. And recently she said she would like to watch Grave Encounters again, and I said, "Is it the one with Ted Levine?" No, that's Banshee Chapter. Okay, so which one is it then? And is it the one that I liked or the one that I didn't like? Okay, oh, okay, I will watch it with you, and then I will see. So Grave Encounters, a found footage movie about a TV team that does one of these ghost hunting shows where they go to abandoned places and haunted places um and yeah, act like they're searching for ghosts and find messages from ghosts or things like that. I mean, these things are on TV now, and this movie is, I think, over 20 years old at this point.
Mm.
So it's very fun to see the characters, these ghost hunter TV presenters, these in leather jackets and the haircut from the early 2000s. Not quite Chris Angel types, but almost. So anyway, yeah, they're going to this asylum or former asylum, and they have themselves locked in overnight, so they cannot get out. And so as the way that this film is presented in the beginning of the film, you have a guy at a desk who is like a producer or something on this show, and he said, "Yeah, well, this was the sixth episode that they filmed, and this happened, and this is the footage that we were able to gather,
Mm.
only edited for time, and yeah, and then of course there's some behind the scenes footage as well, so you hear the people talking about how they do these shows so that none of them believe in ghosts. It's just a show. But of course, now doing this one, the the ghosts are real and they are trapped in this asylum overnight. They cannot get out. They try to get out, and it gets Lovecraftian in a way. I think it has elements of cosmic horror to it. I thought it was all right. I think it went on a little bit long at some point. It
Mm.
kind of started to drag a little bit, but yeah, it I didn't mind it that much. I'm still not sure if this is the one that I liked or disliked the first time because I think at this point it's the third time that I watched the movie.
Mm.
Um, and I talked about Alien versus Predator last time, which at that point I had seen at the fourth time, and it was the time that I liked the most. Maybe it's just the more often I see something, the 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 more I don't know, get soft on it and don't dislike it as much anymore. I don't know. Maybe it was Banshee Chapter, the
You're
one
being
that
desensitized to the crapness of these movies.
maybe maybe. But also, and that's I will use that as the segue into my next movie, and I will use your bringing up of bad movie Bible
Mm.
as part of my segue as well, because I've been listening to junk food cinema for so many years now, and they do something similar. They only talk about movies that they like. So their core rule is, if one, it's two hosts, Brian Salisbury and C. Robert Cargill, and if one of them actually really dislikes a movie, they will not talk about it.
Mm.
Because they don't want to talk about movies they don't like. They want to praise movies. But of course, they have that famous saying, it's not a good movie, but it's a great movie, because it's just fun to watch the movie. But it's sometimes, of course, you have to have that taste for such entertainment, as Rob Hill obviously does. He wouldn't do that show if he disliked all those movies, if he hadn't fun watching those movies and doing the research and compiling these videos, because it takes a massive amount of time and amount of work. um and I feel myself, I mean, I've had that, a kind of always an appreciation for schlocky movies and B movies, but I feel like I've leaning more and more towards that. And listening to Junk Food Cinema and watching Bad Movie Bible and things like that definitely um, furthers my appreciation for cheap movies and my the fun that I can have with cheap movies. And then also my recent research into Steve Kostansky when I watched the Deathstalker remake, and my current obsession with practical effects and rubber masks and appreciation also for bad effects, bad practical effects, not bad CGI. Bad CGI is always bad, but bad practical effects can be a lot of fun. Which brings me to the movie that I am now probably introducing to all of you. If anyone has seen this movie, reach out and let me know. So there's this movie that Bianca has been talking about probably as long as I've known her. So there's this one channel on German television that kind of specializes in showing such movies, bad, cheap movies made for TV, the Asylum movies, Sharknado, and all that stuff, and Sharknado and worse. And whenever we switch that channel on, and there's one of those movies, these made for TV movies, disaster movies or catastrophe movies, science fiction movies, where you come at any point, you come into a scene of that movie, you realize it's one of those made for TV or direct to DVD or whatever movies, and then we always play that game. Okay, which actor is in this one? Which actor that used to be in bigger movies but now is in those to pay the rent?
Tara Reid, that kind of thing.
Is it Casper Van Dien? Is it Eric Roberts? Is it Danny Glover? Who is it now? And there's one movie that years ago, before we knew each other, Bianca actually watched. And that movie is Frozen Impact. The German title translates to hailstorm. So she always talked about Hagelsturm, hailstorm.
Nice.
And whenever we found one of those movies on TV, she always said, damn, it's not Hailstorm. I want to watch Hailstorm again, or Frozen Impact. And so a few years ago, I found a Dutch DVD of Frozen Impact on eBay for very, very, very cheap. And the Dutch don't dub movies, so it's the English audio, and you can turn on Dutch subtitles. So I bought that DVD, and we've had it for a couple of years now, and now recently we watched it. So for me, this is the first time seeing this movie. So this from 2003. Ted McGinley is in it, and Stacy Keach. So those are your bigger names in the movie, and it's about this small town in Vermont. This family, the mother is a doctor at the hospital. The father is the head firefighter, and then there's a teenage daughter and a younger teenage son who is in need of a liver transplant. The movie starts out with a liver being transported in a small plane. The plane crashes into the woods, and there's this hailstorm coming. And so at some point we realized this must be a Final Destination movie, because for some reason this hailstorm is eerily bent on not having this kid have his liver transplant. This hailstorm does everything so that this kid dies. because for some reason, so the family of four is spread out over the city. The firefighter dad goes to that crash site. One guy is still alive, and he has the liver transplant, and dad realizes this is the liver transplant that my son is about to receive or supposed to receive. So he he tries to get that liver to the hospital. On the way there, he realizes, why is my daughter climbing these rocks? She's supposed to be somewhere else. She's climbing rocks during this hailstorm. So he saves her, and then the son is somewhere else, and the daughter, the mother is in the hospital, and the whole movie is spent trying to get the kid and the liver to the hospital. So that the kid can have this liver transplant, and every few minutes, hailstorm tries to prevent that. Uh, for some inexplicable reason, um, houses are destroyed and go up in flames, but people get away relatively safe. Do these baseball-sized hail? What is it in English? Hailcorn? What's
Yeah.
hailstone? Stone. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hailstones. So, uh, not to spoil anything, but everything goes well. Another fun part is because of the hailstorm, they can't fly in a doctor that is actually trained in doing such liver transplants. But there's a TV crew stuck at the hospital. So Dr. Mom has the idea of talking to the TV crew, and then they set up a connection to a doctor in Atlanta who, via video, leads her in doing a liver transplant operation on her own son. And but again, this is obviously not a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in that mindset, it can be so much fun, especially if you watch it with other people. It's just fun to watch. And I must say, Stacy Keach and Ted McGinley, they've been in bigger things, but they are not. They're doing their best. It's not like they're not phoning it in. And when the credits rolled, I said, these people were able to pay rent with doing this movie. So it's completely all right that this movie exists.
Yeah.
Because as we often say, or as many people often say, no one sets out to make a bad movie. People are doing their best, and often people just have to pay rent. Not everyone is Brad Pitt or Jennifer Lawrence or whoever, people who make millions doing movies. There's the guy who carries cables, who has to pay rent, and he will take any job that he can get. And same for actors. These are actors who make movies like I Go to the Office. If I don't go to the office, I mean, unless I'm sick, that's okay. But if I cannot sustain myself if I stop working. I have to go work. I'm in the lucky position that I have steady work that I can go to every day. If you're in the movie business, when the movie's done, your job is done. You have to find another job and so on. So you're employed for a few weeks and then you're unemployed again, unless you're working on a long-term TV series, which also is not so much the case anymore. With an 8-episode prestige TV drama, you cannot pay rent for a year if you're the grip. So even those bad movies that are made for TV have their purpose and their use for people. And I must say, what I was really impressed by with Frozen Impact, and that's where I'm coming to the practical effects again. There were some fantastic miniature shots in that film that I really, really enjoyed when you saw the houses and toy cars that were absolutely models that were destroyed by the hailstorm. And I just enjoyed those moments where I thought, okay, this is a cheap TV movie, but they had some shots where I really could see the craft that someone put into trying to make a nice shot of a destroyed house with some toy cars around it. So it's sometimes it's fun to watch such a movie. Sometimes it's nice to watch Oppenheimer and have this big, massive movie with every minor role is cast with a star that you know from other things and that costs millions and millions and millions, is made by a director that has a clear artistic vision and a craft to his work. And sometimes it's fun to watch a movie that is 80 minutes and it's Ten McGinley racing on a motorcycle with a liver transplant in his lab, trying to escape a hailstorm. So we have not seen Hailstorm, or Frozen Impact, as it's called in English, in any of the bad movie Bibles yet. Probably because it's not a ripoff. Most of his bigger movie essays are on ripoff.
I mean, I'm sure there are aspects that he could probably feed into some kind of thing. Like, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like almost a disaster movie, but I feel like disaster movies are not based on one specific movie in the same way that like the Maxpoloitation series was kind of based around the idea that Mad Max was the kind of call to action. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe he could make a video talking about how they stole the name of a early 2000s rock band. I have to get my Lizzie Hale reference in there somewhere, otherwise it's just, what am I doing with my life?
Well, the original title is Frozen Impact.
Well, the German title, obviously, obviously,
Hagelsturm.
Whoever named it in German is a huge Hailstorm fan. That's all I'm saying.
Of course. So yeah, those are the two movies that I can bring to the table today. And with that, I think we can go into our main topic, which we've already mentioned, but here we go again. Dog Soldiers is a 2002 British action horror film written, directed, and edited by Neil Marshall in his feature directorial debut, starring Sean Pertwee, Kevin McKidd, Emma Cleesby, and Liam Cunningham. The film follows a squad of soldiers fighting to survive an attack by a pack of werewolves during a military training exercise in the Scottish Highlands. Dave, had you seen this movie before? Oh yeah, you said bits on TV.
Yeah, as I said earlier, this is one of those movies that will be thrown on TV late night, and was quite a lot, especially when I still had Sky, because Sky Movies would have this on rotation quite frequently, from what I remember. So I never seemed to be able to sit down and watch the whole thing. It turns out I've never seen the opening of the movie at all, because the letter opener thing was a completely new thing for me. So yeah, I've seen, I'd like to say up until today, I've probably seen somewhere in the region of like 90% of the movie. And it was nice to finally see it from the very beginning to the very end. So yeah, this is technically, this would be my first time watching the movie in its entirety.
How did you like it?
I thought it was very good. There are technical aspects which I wasn't sure about, which we'll probably get into as we continue to discuss the movie. But overall, I thought the plot was exactly what it needed to be. It didn't need to be overly complicated. Like, they set up the reason why the squaddies were in the Scottish Highlands, which is not unusual at all. British Army will very often do training exercises either in Scotland or other remote parts of the United Kingdom. And it will normally be a case of, we're going to drop you somewhere where you don't know where you are, and you have to make it to the nearest civilization without being caught by another group who will be kind of tracking you down. That's not necessarily what's happening here. I think this is more of an orienteering exercise than it is a kind of evade capture exercise. But still, it was a very simple way to have a group of military personnel happen across this family of werewolves. And yeah, like there's one or two things that felt slightly forced, like how Megan just happens to come across them just in time. I think too many people had prior knowledge of each other. Like Megan knowing who Ryan was because he's been there before. I think they could have done away with that and just had it be like, because it didn't really add anything to the overall story. It's like, oh, you know each other. Right. So what does that give us in the movie? Well, actually, it doesn't give us anything at all. Ryan could very well be there for the first time as well, and it wouldn't have affected how the movie was told at all. Sometimes I feel like storytellers like to connect everything and everybody, and it's not always necessary, and sometimes it can lead to the story feeling a little too contrived. It's not a deal breaker. It's just one of those things that I just thought was unnecessary. The set pieces are really... Oh, sorry, go on.
I don't want to undermine your point, and I'm absolutely... I have criticism of the script as well. I believe in this instance that the filmmakers maybe felt like they needed a moment to make Ryan talk about his experience with the werewolves, because someone in the group knew that he wasn't there for the first time, that his initial task was to capture one of those werewolves, and because Megan had already met him before, she was the one that could say, well, he's been here before, it seems like he knows what's going on. And that's where the moment where he started talking about the operation, which could have been handled in a different way, I think. Sure, but I think that's why they had this moment.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Damn it, Andy's paying more attention than I am as normal. No, you make a good point, and I perhaps wasn't paying enough attention or trying to think about the reasons why so much as just like, LOL, we know each other. Like, it felt at the time, because I wasn't thinking about it as much as I should have been probably, it almost just kind of felt like they were setting up this moment of like, oh, we caught you out, we can't trust you at all, kind of thing, and it just wasn't really necessary. But no, I take your point, and that one's on me. That one is on me. The action set pieces I thought were very well done. I very much enjoy Spoon boxing with a werewolf. It doesn't feel like any other werewolf fight that I have ever seen, because like most of the time people are either shooting at them or they have like a silver stake or something that they're trying to, or a silver bullet is more traditional, I suppose. But some kind of silver weapon. But in this instance, it's just, no, I'm just gonna punch you. I'm gonna punch you a lot. And I really dug how they played with the idea of the werewolf being a larger and in that confined space, a slightly more lumbering opponent, and Spoon using his size and speed to kind of get the better of it in a close quarters environment. And then on the flip side, the fact that when the werewolves are out in the open, when they're able to take advantage of large spaces and cover, they absolutely have the upper hand. One of the characters makes reference to the events of the movie Zulu, and I thought that was a brilliant bit of foreshadowing, because the movie does essentially end up as a modern retelling of Zulu, even down to the fact that it's almost an invading force that are holed up and holding off the native people of the region.
British version of the Alamo.
Yes, yeah.
In an American movie, they would reference the Alamo.
Yeah, I mean, the Alamo probably... I don't know which event happened first, because Zulu would have been set around about the early 1900s, late 1800s, I think. And the Alamo...
Probably around the same time.
Okay, yeah, know. Right. So for once, the Americans would have a very good point in comparing and contrasting the two. So yeah, I thought that was a nice little bit of foreshadowing and a good idea for how to set the movie up like a siege movie. The special effects for the werewolves, going back to your mention of the fact that you've got a bit of a thing for practical effects at the moment. I absolutely love the effects in this movie. Almost all of it practical. In fact, I can't think of any examples where it wouldn't be practical. Even like, the helicopter dropping them off at the beginning of the movie is just like a real helicopter that they had hover above a rock. My main gripe with the movie is that there seems to be an inconsistency with the film stock where it comes to any time that a weapon is fired. I know that there were issues with some of the negatives being lost before a 4K revisioning of the movie was done, and maybe that has something to do with it. But also, I don't know what the original version of the movie looked like, because I only remember what I've seen today in terms of like the difference in film quality. But there was a very definite difference between the film as standard and then whenever somebody was firing a weapon, especially noticeable the first time it happens when they're in amongst the fern and the like Christmas trees, and the werewolves are hunting them down kind of for the first time. There's a moment when Sean Pertwee's character is accosted by a werewolf for the first time and gets his belly sliced open, and it goes really, really grainy, like very grainy indeed. And I have read that there were issues with the 4K update, and that could be it. But it might also just be that they were using different cameras for some strange reason, or the exposures had to be different because of the muzzle flash. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, like, that's my only real problem with the film. I thought it was very entertaining, very well done. And I love the fact that a British werewolf movie set in Scotland in 2002 references the fucking Matrix at one point with a joke that was set up at the very beginning of the movie. Like, there is no spoon. What the fuck? And also,
in that moment, I thought, okay, what was there first, the joke or the name?
I'm thinking did
they name the character to make this joke?
I think so. Yeah, I genuinely think that they did that. Yeah, and I'm all for it. Like, and then it goes the other way as well, because I was watching an episode of Critical Role recently. Yes, I'm on my D&D bullshit again. Sorry, people, but it is relevant. One of the characters in season 3 of Critical Role is a werewolf called Chetney, and at some point in the campaign, he loses control and starts attacking his compatriots, and one of them just grabs for anything they can find, and they pick up a stick, and the whole crew started laughing, and I was like, "What? Why are you laughing?" And the guy playing Chetney says, "Don't you do it! Don't you do it!" And then the other guy is just like, "I throw the stick and tell him to fetch." And they actually rolled for it, and it succeeded, and it actually just distracted him for a second. And I was like, okay, they obviously knew that he was going to play fetch with the dog. But now I realise that there was a very good likelihood that they were all realising, because they're up on their film references, that he was thinking of dog soldiers when he picked up that stick and thought to throw it. And I fucking love that. Yeah. It brought my world together in such a cool way. So yeah, overall, really enjoyed it. Andy, I have talked enough already. What are your thoughts about the movie initially?
Going with that, I must say that I really enjoyed the humor in the movie. It's not a laugh out comedy, but when they do make a joke, it hit for me. Like the spoon thing, the fetch thing, and other instances as well. It's often a one-liner, but I thought the humor was very well placed. I looked up the Alamo and the Anglo-Zulu War. So Battle of the Alamo 1836 and the Anglo-Zulu War 1879.
Damn. Okay.
So
there you go.
I enjoyed the movie. So Neil Marshall is a director. I have not seen many of his movies, to be honest. I've seen The Descent and his Hellboy movie, which he abandoned at some point. That was finished without him. So I don't know how much we can attribute to Neil Marshall with this movie. We did an episode on it. I've only seen The Descent once, and I did not enjoy it back then. I didn't think that the Hellboy movie was as bad as many people thought it was. It's still not very good, but it was okay. Neil Marshall is one of those people, similarly to Darren Lynn Bousman, that I really enjoy on podcasts, that I like to listen to, that have interesting thoughts on movie making, and his episode on Best Movies Never Made from I think 2019 was very, very good. He talked about some projects that he had thought of, and that there were great movie ideas among them. But so far, my track record with his movies before yesterday, when I had only seen two, wasn't that great. And Dog Soldiers was one that I absolutely had hope for, that this would be the one that I liked out of his filmography. It's a very beloved movie among horror film fans, and yeah, I absolutely enjoyed it. I thought it's a great premise. It is a great premise for a debut feature. Just take 10 people, put them in some military garb, and drop them in the woods, drop them in the forest, and have them run around. And then at some point introduce practical effects, put some people in werewolf costumes, which is, of course, every werewolf movie will forever be compared to the transformation in American Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
This movie doesn't even deal that much with transformation. We see one transformation, I think it's when Ryan transforms, but it's mostly done through cutaways and cutting back to him, and then he's transformed a little bit more. But that's not really what the movie is about that much. You see enough of the wolves. Mostly they're in shadows. You mostly see just their yeah their figure in the dark, and sometimes you see a hand or a snout or just a detail of the costume. So that's well done, well hidden in editing and lighting, and it absolutely works. I like the characters, as already talked about, the humor. So that all worked for me. I thought it might have gone on a little bit too long, but overall I thought it's all right. I like Sean Pertwee. I can never remember which things I had seen him in, but he's an actor that I do enjoy. I think I just like his face, his attitude. Liam Cunningham. I Again, an actor that I know I have seen in things, for most people, and for me as well, without having watched the whole show. I know that he's been in a good bit of Game of Thrones. I probably have not seen him because I've only seen the first two seasons. I don't even know when he showed up in the show. But he's Sean Pertwee and Liam Cunningham are like the two faces. Oh well, and then as I learned yesterday, Cooper was in Grey's Anatomy, and in Trainspotting, which I was not aware of. I would not have recognized him when Bianca showed me a picture of him in Trainspotting. I still didn't know which character that is.
Yeah, he in '96 for Trainspotting, he was a lot more thin and gaunt, and like he was playing
longer
heroin
hair.
addict.
He had this mop top, and and then when Bianca talked about him having been in Grey's Anatomy, I remembered a blonde guy in TV commercials. I've seen a blonde guy in TV commercials for Grey's Anatomy. I guess that was him.
There's like 25 seasons of that thing. Like, you'd be forgiven for not knowing everyone that's appeared in it.
And having seen one episode of Grey's Anatomy, I think I can be forgiven for not knowing that this guy that I still don't remember the name of was in that show. So for me, Sean Pertwee and Liam Cunningham were the famous faces in this film. So overall, I think it worked. I like the idea of putting soldiers against werewolves. It's Overlord did something similar with soldiers against vampires. I think this idea of putting movie monsters, it's basically aliens in the forest. You have monsters and you have military, and you pitch them against each other, so that I think that works. Neil Marshall is known for being an action director. He directed 2 episodes of Game of Thrones, which were, again, I have not seen them, but everyone, when they were on TV, talked about them as being these big battle episodes.
The Battle of the Bastards, I think, was one of them.
Possible.
No, I know that you can't confirm or deny that.
I read the titles today, but I did not remember them. He also directed many other TV shows, and yeah, from those things, he's known as the action director. And I looked into his recent filmography. So after Hellboy, he's since made 4 movies. He's in a very interesting phase of his career. So he used to be married to Axel Carolyn, filmmaker from Belgium, also known in the American horror realm. And they got divorced, and then he met Charlotte Kirk, a British actor. Way younger than he is, and I don't know if they got engaged. I don't know if they're married or not, but still. Anyway, since then they've made 4 movies together that they wrote together. She stars in them. He writes, directs, produces, edits edits them. And they made horror movies, action movies, an erotic thriller, things like that. I watched the trailers to his 2 latest movies, Duchess and Compulsion. And they didn't even look that bad. They looked like movies that I would watch. They looked like decent direct-to-video or direct-to-streaming fare. I mean, Dave Bautista is in films like that that you don't really see much in cinemas, and so they look better than I expected. They must be. I don't know how they are financed. They're proper independent movies. Probably financed by 12 production companies or so. I don't know, but that's what he's doing. So he is an action guy, and you can already see that in his debut with Dog Soldiers. What I was not quite clear about was Megan's objective. I did not quite understand her storyline. That I was confused by. I don't know if that storyline was needed. I know from reading it on Wikipedia that Neil Marshall had plans for a trilogy, and that there were things in the first movie, specifically the moment when Megan cuts her hand on that piece of glass at a broken window, that was a setup for a later movie when they would go into the storyline with the werewolf DNA, and that moment felt like it was supposed to say something in the movie. It never really got paid off, and then reading it on Wikipedia, I understood, okay, he was trying to set something up. So maybe at some point Megan's story would have made more sense to me. Maybe I was missing something, I don't know, but from your reaction it seemed like you can't quite make heads or tails of her story either.
No, I agree. I had a quick correction before I go into that, because I've attributed Battle of the Bastards to the wrong director. It was Miguel Sapochnik that directed the Battle of the Bastards. Neil Marshall directed the Watchers of the Wall, which is another well-regarded battle episode, and also the Battle of Castle Black. So just so that people don't scream at me too much, because I've got my Game of Thrones mixed up. Yeah, the whole thing with Megan was quite confusing, especially knowing that, having seen the movie in parts before and remembering that she herself is a werewolf and a member of the family. It felt very confusing because of the fact that, her motivations seem all over the place. If you're going to pick the soldiers up, then either are you trying to save them or are you just trying to set them up to be eaten? Because it felt like she wasn't doing enough to take care of either of those options, if that makes sense. I'm not using the right words here, but it felt like she was kind of stuck in the middle, with clowns to the left of her and jokers to the right, or werewolves in this case. And it didn't, I don't know, on the one hand, I guess if she had this crisis of conscience where she wasn't sure if she wanted to help them or eat them, then it kind of makes sense the way that she was acting. But also there were moments when the only person that saw how she was acting was the camera, was the audience, and she would have no reason to react the way that she did if she was in on it, if that makes sense. It all felt like they were trying as best as they could to fool the audience into thinking that she was just another victim. Yeah. And there are ways to do that don't feel like they're a cheat, and there are ways to do it that absolutely will make you feel like you've been hoodwinked. And I don't think that it's all one or the other here. I think it's leaning towards hoodwinking in an unsatisfactory way. Like the cut on the hand, like you could think to yourself, oh, has she got some blood in her now? Is she going to start turning? Which I like that as a kind of a hook, as, you know, something for the audience to start concerning themselves about. But overall, like the fact that she's like, you know, she gives that that line before she turns where she says something along the lines of, if I like you, you're dead, or something like that. I was just like, I don't understand what the fuck you mean by that. Like,
what is the lore with the turning? So we're trying to wait for sunrise so that the werewolves would turn back, but Megan doesn't turn at all for most of the night.
Well, she's resisting
just choose?
apparently.
Yeah, but I mean, we're not. There's no explanation in the movie for how this works.
The most explanation that I could derive from her lines were that they do have control over it, but at some point they have to turn. It's almost like at the beginning of the night, you can kind of be like, nah, I don't fancy it quite yet. And then as the night progresses, like the call becomes more and more difficult to resist, to the point that when she does turn, it's basically because she doesn't have any more resistance in her. She has to turn. And I think she says something kind of to that effect, something along the lines of time running out, or time has run out, or something. But yeah, it just that whole part of the story felt a little bit too much like they were like, oh, and here's a twist. And the worst kind of twist is the one that is put in there just to be there, you know, like it was confusing to me, and a little bit annoying actually, because of the way that she acted when we were the only ones that could see how she was acting. So I don't know. I've made my peace with it at this point, knowing that she was going to turn. I was trying to look for little bits in her acting that might point out that she actually knows what's going on, and things like that. And
I mean, at some point, because we've seen movies like this, at some point I thought she might be in on it. She might be of that family or whatever. But then when it was actually revealed, I had all these questions of, okay, what was her objective, and why is she turning now? I don't quite get it. And there were some other moments where I thought, okay, you guys are just acting stupidly right now. So
yeah,
one soldier is jumping out the one side of the house to distract the wolves with no weapon and nothing. Those wolves are not of the very strong and fast kind. These are not the werewolves that you've seen in other movies. You can outrun them. At least in moments when it suits the movie, that you can outrun them. And when they blow up that barn, because Megan says, well, they act like a pack, and they stay close to each other and to where the food is. They must all be in the barn right now. Let's blow up the barn and we're rid of them. And everyone just goes along with this plan that risks everyone's lives, and then only for you to be revealed, just kidding, I'm one of them, and they were never in the barn. And so, okay, everyone's just acting impulsively without, I don't know, using some logic or sense in moments when it is important for the movie, for the plot of the movie, or for the next action set piece or whatever. And those were the moments where I got kind of a little bit, I don't know, I was a little bit, I don't know what word to use, but where the movie did not entirely work for me. I still liked it, but I think the script and the logic of the movie is not airtight in those moments.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think one of the moments of the movie that really felt like they hadn't thought it through or hadn't given it enough thought was the moment where she Not so much that she reveals that she's a werewolf or even the fact that she's unlocked the door or anything like that. It's the moment that she's halfway through her transformation and it's the sergeant that shoots her in the head. And I was just, even in that moment, I was sitting there. I think it's Wells is the name of the sergeant. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, this movie started with you being unable to kill a dog because it wasn't a threat to you. You said, like, I can kill a dog, but I'm not going to kill that dog because why would I do that? Like, there's no point to it. It's not threatening me. Like, there's no value in doing that thing, right? And then we get to a point in the movie where, and forgive me, feminists of the world, but you've got this woman who's turning into a werewolf, who is essentially like a what's the word I'm looking for here? She is the equivalent of the dog at the beginning of the movie, except in this instance, she is a dog who is a threat. And my rudimentary understanding of script writing and storytelling is, if you set this thing up at the beginning of the movie where he says, I can do this thing, but I'm not going to do it now, or you show an inability to do it because there's no actual stakes involved. When you get to the end of the movie and that same character is faced with the same kind of choice, except this is now a life or death moment, normally what you do is you have that character do the thing that they couldn't do at the beginning of the movie. So why is it that Wells is the one that shoots her and not Cooper? Because to me, the more satisfying story beat is he likes her, but he can see that she's a threat and she is going to kill him. And so in this instance, he's going to take the shot, and they pull that away from him and they give it to Wells, who already has a moment in the script where he can be the big self-sacrificing hero and make a tough decision. He doesn't need this moment as well. So why have you taken that away from Cooper? That felt like a decision that was either that was the original idea and then they changed it to Wells shooting her because it tested better for whatever fucking reason. Because heaven forbid you have your kind of like surviving hero of the piece shoot an unarmed woman. She's a fucking werewolf, man. She's gonna eat you. If she turns the whole way, you're not going to be able to kill her. Not with the weapons that you have. That one kind of I wasn't sure about that. That was a little bit maddening to me. It's such a weird choice to make in the way they set the story up. If they hadn't had him having the tryouts with Ryan at the beginning of the movie and not shooting the dog, then fine. Whoever gets her, gets her. But why specifically set up this point of contention where he won't do what he's been told to do because of moral reasons, essentially, right? Like, the dog isn't doing him any harm. It's a training exercise. It's not going to attack him. It's not going to do anything to him other than sniff him out. And then not have him. I'm just going around in circles here because it's
a very good point, and I think it's absolutely true that you have these two elements in the movie that would make Cooper the logical choice for shooting her. The one, the setup in the beginning, and then also that he is the one most involved with her, and therefore maybe the most betrayed by her, and so then to take action and save his people by shooting her would have absolutely makes sense. Also, I thought this moment, I don't know, it was so abrupt. It felt very abrupt to me. So here's the reveal. 20 seconds later, you're dead.
It was throwaway in a way that cheapens her entire role in the movie. Like it again, like, not to harp on the point, but if you have Cooper do it, then it has that emotional impact of him being, involved with her, whether or not he's romantically involved with her, because we never see any real inkling of that. But he's certainly on a personal level closer to her than any of the other soldiers are. But it is literally a throwaway moment. Like, Wells shoots her and then says, like, had to be done, and moves on. And it just, it falls flat for a character that was like a main character of the movie. She's got a less satisfying ending than most of the soldiers do.
Yeah, that's true. What one thing that we didn't mention yet, which when I watched the movie yesterday made even more sense that David isn't here with us. One major plot point is, of course, the football game, Germany versus England.
Yes.
So me being the German representative and you being the English representative, that last headline on the newspaper that they show on screen when the movie's done, where what was it? England beat Germany 5-1 or something like that.
Yeah, it was a famous night in Germany. We still hang on to that. 20 odd years later, and English football fans still hang on to England 5, Germany 1, because it was a very famous result. Like, it was the result that really kind of made Sven's career as England manager. It turned the likes of Emil Heskey into an overnight sensation. I remember watching that match and just going absolutely mental. I think especially because if I remember right, Germany went 1-0 up, and I was like, oh, same old. Because we never beat Germany. We never beat you guys. We never do. Like 1996, it's Euro 96 in England, home country, semi-final at Wembley, and we go out to Germany. World Cup 1990, semi-final, we go out to Germany. You name the tournament, more than likely Germany have knocked us out of it. So, just for once to have that, and then to bring this film out like the next year, it made perfect sense that was the match that they were going to reference. But then also, like, all of the little bits in the script that were so fundamentally English football fan orientated. There's the moment near the end of the film where he says they think it's all over, it is now, which is a famous line again from an England-Germany match, the World Cup match of 1966. There's that soldier when he's doing the distraction and he says, "Come and have a go if you think you're hard enough," which is not a song you hear sung on the terraces very much anymore, but certainly in the 80s and early 90s, when English football was mired in real kind of thuggish behaviour. We were banned from Europe for a time because of our behaviour in European countries during football matches. It's not something you hear sung now, but it's definitely a song that most football fans of my age or older will recognise as being football centric. There's an awful lot of football chat in this movie, and I'm here for it.
You have at least one character who's really invested.
Oh yeah,
of this game, that he has to be in the woods now, but he would nothing. There's nothing more that he would like to do than be home to watch this game, because it's not just a game to him. It is, and he mentions that it's England versus Germany. This is not a game.
yeah. And I can't speak for how German football fans feel about that particular game, but I feel like it is the rivalry for England fans. More so than any of the home nations. Like, when we play Germany, that is the big one for us. And it's probably because the only time we won a World Cup was against Germany. And since then, you guys have had a bit of a sign over us in terms of like results. You tend to come out on top most times we play, and nothing irritates a football fan more than losing to the same team over and over again. For German fans, it's probably just a Tuesday when you play us. For us, it's the game of the year. So
I think those are the matches that are most remembered. Is the one time that you beat them, and so I mean, I'm not super involved with German football.
Sure.
In parentheses anymore. I haven't heard German fans talk about that game in particular. Probably since that game.
Yeah.
I think there's other games that are...
You put it behind you. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, and there's at least a few World Cups that Germany won. I think those are more talked about, those games.
Yeah, thanks for bringing up the fact that you're more successful in World Cup football than we are, Andy. I appreciate that.
If your guys just knew how to shoot a penalty kick.
Honestly, that's all that's holding us back. This is our year. Well, not this year, next year, 2026. Unfortunately, it's being held in America, but you can't have everything. But that's going to be our year. We're going to win it. We've got a German in charge of the national team. That was what was missing.
Yeah, that's true.
Thomas Tuchel, come down. Come on. You can do it. You can do it, boys.
So yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we mentioned that because of course it's a coincidence. I didn't know that about the movie before, but here we are, a German and an Englishman talking about a movie where it's such a present thing in the movie. This rivalry between Germany and England.
Yeah, I did notice when it came up. I was like, oh, this is going to make the recording fun when we get to that particular subject. But yeah, it's just one of those funny things that comes up, and just as much like the fact that I don't know if Neil Marshall was in the middle of writing this movie when that Germany result came up and he was like, well, I have to include this. I don't know how much of a football fan he is, but I'd say there's a better than zero chance that was how it happened.
But it gives the character depth. It
does, yeah.
Strengthens the relationship between those characters because when he gets killed, his comrades talk about that to other people, that he was a football fan and he wanted to see this game and so on. And he asks about the results. They're in this big crisis. They're fighting for their life, and still he talks to other people. You don't happen to know the result, do you?
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was a game on. So it gives the character some humanity and depth and connection, and that we are in this action film where military shoots at werewolves, but you also have those human moments, and in this case, it hinges on this historic football game, which is a, especially for, as you explained. I mean, this is a British movie, probably mostly done for a British audience, and they will connect to that.
Yeah, and maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree here. Ha ha. There's a pun. You're welcome, David. He's not listening, let's be honest. But I think that movies, I think a very good example of a movie that does that, where it uses time and dialogue space to just create a world that isn't all focused just on what's happening in the plot. Pulp Fiction, where they talk about the bacon royale, or was it the royale with cheese or whatever, the conversation about the Big Mac and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Like having a little bit of your movie just dedicated to just making the world feel like just a regular world where people talk about regular shit. Kevin Smith is the master of this. I mean, most of his dialogue is just random crap that's got nothing to do with the plot, and I love him for it. What was it in Clerks? Like, she cheated on me 14.5 times. It was like, half? Yeah, she thought it was me, but it was another guy. Although tangentially, I suppose it is related to the plot in a weird way. But anyway, I'm getting away from the point. It does do exactly what you're talking about, which is it just makes the world feel more whole, and it makes you feel connected to it more because you see yourself in those characters. And especially a movie that was probably only really meant to be released to any kind of success in the UK, to be focused on the football in that sense. It makes it a film that a lot of people will be able to connect to, because we got a lot of football fans in this country. There's a lot of people that follow that silly game with 22 men kicking a white ball around a pitch.
And you can probably assume that the audience that watches a movie, Soldiers versus Werewolves, is pretty male, and therefore even more likely to watch the footy.
Yeah, I would say if there was a Venn diagram of people who like football and people who like soldiers fighting werewolves, it would almost look like a football in itself. Those are basically one circle. Throw some beer drinking in there, and that's it. That's absolutely a full circle. He knows what his audience is with this movie, and so he tailors it to that. I did like, there was a line that Megan delivers where she says it's just a game, and the soldier says it's not just a game, it's England and Germany. Like, that's absolutely right as well. Like, I think it wasn't Brian Clough. It may have been one of the former Liverpool managers. I think it was Bill Shankly, who said, football isn't a matter of life and death. It's much more important than that. And that kind of sums up the mindset of a football fan where it comes to playing against your biggest rivals. It's the most important thing in the world for 90 minutes and potentially for some time after that 90 minutes, but certainly...
For some people, their whole lives.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've managed to break free somewhat of that, but I still do find myself on a match day thinking of very little else other than what Arsenal or England are going to do that day. But hey, we've all got to have a distraction, haven't we? For some people, it's werewolves. For some people, it's people kicking a pig's bladder around trying to get it in between two white posts into the back of an onion bag.
Is there anything that we want to mention that we haven't yet about the movie? Or
I mean, I'm talking about football at this point, so I think I've pretty much walked that particular puddle dry. No, I'm good, Andy, unless you've got anything else that you can think of.
I think many people have seen this movie. It's not new. It's not a secret. It's not a deep cut. I hadn't seen it yet. Of course, I've known about the movie for many years. Just hadn't sat down to watch it yet. I think we both enjoyed it. We both had some criticism, especially about plot, but when it comes to the directing, the action, the creature effects, I think that all worked well. You talked about the grain of the image. I watched it on a DVD. I did not notice any changes in the quality of the image. So I don't know.
It might be that
you talked about restoration for 4K. That might have something to do with it.
So I saw it on Amazon Prime. So it didn't say whether what kind of version it was. But there was a 4K restoration done by Vertigo, which, in fairness, at the beginning of my copy that I watched, it did have the Vertigo logo on it. So it probably was the 4K restoration that I was watching. But that was released on 12th of October 2020. So it's entirely likely that Prime has got a copy of the 4K restoration and they stream it to whatever resolution your monitor is capable of showing. It would make more sense to have one copy that's capable of all the different resolutions rather than having like a 4K version, a 2K version, an SD version. So yeah, I think that's probably it. It's the 4K restoration has probably made those problems worse. Sorry. I have heard of other people saying that on previously released versions, they didn't notice it as badly. So that's probably a me problem and not a you problem, Andy.
Yeah, I would just to let listeners know that there is criticism for a version of the movie, but not it's not necessarily the movie's fault. It's more like the development of technology that brings forth problems that weren't there before.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, like, even with the grain issues on certain scenes, and it's weird that it always seemed to be the action scenes, at least the outdoor action scenes, where those problems persisted so badly. Maybe it's because the 4K makes those problems so visible.
Maybe it has something to do because I thought it seems like the movie was shot day for night. It seemed like to me in those outdoor sequences, and where it's shot in daylight, but then in the post-production process, I don't know, color graded or whatever to make it look like night, and that gives a bit of a different look to it. Maybe that plays into what you were experiencing, but that's my technological knowledge is not expensive enough to really.
No. I mean, the thing is, like, I've got no doubt that depending on how you carry out a restoration, you can get wildly different results as well. So it might just be that the type of processing they were doing, it could be something to do with the missing prints that they were talking about in one of the sources that I found. It wasn't on Wikipedia that I read that. It was somewhere else. They were talking about how some of the negatives, the original negatives went missing. So they had to kind of make do as they could, probably by using a Blu-ray version and trying to do a restoration on the Blu-ray frame by frame. I don't know. But what I was going to say was that it didn't actually harm my enjoyment of the movie that much at all. I got used to it. After the first few times it happened, I just kind of sat back and I was like, it is what it is. I can make out what's happening. If anything, it's like a interesting visual flourish. I'll pretend that I'm seeing what the werewolves are seeing when the guns are going off, and that'll do me. And actually, that worked. It didn't harm my enjoyment at all. It's a shame that they couldn't make it all look as homogenous as I would like. But I have to say the film where there aren't those issues looks stunning when you stream it off of Amazon Prime. Like, it looks very clear. This was originally filmed on 16mm and then blown up to 35 or 36, whatever the standard is. I think it's 35, isn't it, Andy?
It is.
Yeah. So they had that going against them from the get-go already. But this looks fantastic for something which was blown up and then it was restored to 4K, and, you know, just it looks very, very good, even when you take into account the slight issues that occur in maybe a dozen scenes, and even then it's like 5-second jump cuts to someone firing a weapon and then jumping away again. So yeah, it's fine. It's fine. But honestly, it's a very good film. It's worth watching, even with the issues that we've pointed out. I had a really good time with it. It knows what it wants to do, and it does it really well for the most part. I just wish that Megan had clearer motivation.
yeah. There's a Junk Food Cinema did an episode on it some months ago that I haven't listened to yet, and now that I knew that we were doing this episode, I kept that episode in the back pocket. I didn't want to listen to it before I saw the movie, so now I will listen to that episode, and maybe they will talk about that. Maybe they won't. I don't know yet. But yeah, I will make it a point to listen to that episode.
I think I might do the same. We can both talk about it next week.
Okay, let's do double feature picks. I have one written down, which I think makes total sense, and I will talk about it. But now that we've had this discussion, I think the only logical choice is to double feature Dog Soldiers with that football game and a 6-pack of beer.
I completely
watch
agree.
Dog Soldiers and then watch the football game.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I genuinely can't argue with that. I was going to throw out the obligatory American Werewolf in London, just because it's another UK-based, UK-made, even with an American director in the case of American Werewolf. It's ostensibly it's a British werewolf movie that has the bells and whistles of American money. Whereas this is a British werewolf movie that doesn't have the bells and whistles of American money. It was made for about £2.5 million, which is just, when you think about the quality of like the special effects, that's kind of mad. And I think they built a house to blow up, which again, is pretty mad.
From what I've read, they only built the front of a house. So the exterior shots, there's only the front of the house, and interiors were shot somewhere else. Yeah. When they actually do the explosion at the end, I was wondering if that was a model of that, or that was, I don't know how. I'm not sure how they did it.
They may have done the Peter Jackson thing, because Peter Jackson managed something very, very similar, and we were wondering when we recorded that episode, and then I think. Was it yourself that linked us?
I found that picture where there were like 4 or 5 versions of the house in different sizes.
And the house itself was his parents' house. That's how he got permission to use it. I was like, oh, well, it's all right for some with their rich parents with their lovely plush-looking houses. But apparently like that bridge that comes off the side of it, they built that specifically or something. I don't know. But yeah, so a miniature being blown up, probably they filmed it in fast motion and then slowed it back down slightly to make it look realistic. I believe that's how they do explosions in a lot of things. I was watching a documentary about Thunderbirds, and that's how they do it there. So
I just recently watched. I've gone on a, because of my current obsession with creature effects and such. I watched several Adam Savage tested videos, and I watched all the videos when he was on the Corridor Crew. Do you know the Corridor Crew?
I'm aware of them, but I also know that they've done a lot of stuff with AI. So I've been a bit wary of kind of jumping in. But I love Adam Savage, so...
Yeah. Anyway, he's been on several of their episodes, and they talk about practical effects, and yeah, they looked at something. I'm not quite certain which movie it was from, but it had to do with explosions, and they talked about shooting it in higher speed. But yeah, anyway, yeah. So you picked American Werewolf in London.
I think so.
I will. So to introduce a caveat to my football double feature. Maybe that's the version that the British
There's
should
no
watch.
need. It's a perfect pick. I wish I'd thought of it.
For the British, it is. But my original pick is for the movie fan and for the Americans. Joe Carnahan's The Grey with Liam Neeson, Frank Grillo. We talked about that. Dog Soldiers is a very manly movie. It's men with guns fighting werewolves, and The Grey is that this
regular
group
wolves.
Or is it werewolves? No, it's regular wolves.
Oh, okay. I thought for a second, hang on, I've been sleeping on this movie. Now I need to watch it.
No, it's regular wolves. It's this group of men. They in Alaska, plane crash. They have to get somewhere and survive against this pack of wolves, and one by one they get taken out. And but yeah, it's an American man versus wolf in the woods movie. Again, very manly. Yeah, I think from a movie perspective, that's a good pairing. From a British hooligan perspective, you watch that game and celebrate once more the historic defeat of the Germans. We beat them in the war and in this one football game.
We've got very little to hang on to as football fans at the moment in the UK, so we're just going to make the most of our historic victories, and that's what we do. It's how we do.
All right, so if our plans do not change, we will have another British topic next week, and we should have an American back to have a conversation with about this thing. It's Ghostwatch. If anything changes, you will know on Instagram. Find us there at Eerie International. We announce our upcoming topics on there, and if you want to let us know that you have seen Frozen Impact and how you liked it, you can write us at eerieinternational@gmail.com or on said Instagram account. Dave, it's been a pleasure.
It has been a pleasure for me as well, sir.
I'm happy that we've settled our English-German dispute in the war and in the football, and we were able to have this friendly conversation about this movie.
I think, as we've already established, it's all very, very ancient history. Even the 5-1 is ancient at this point, so almost a quarter of a century. That's depressing.
All right, wonderful then. Everyone, have a good time, watch horror movies, and come back next week when we will probably talk about Ghostwatch. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. What's that? We're back. Why are we back, Andy? Well, I suppose I can tell you. Turns out, listeners, we have some episodes available that we weren't even aware of. You may remember some time ago, I mentioned the fact that we had lost a significant amount of our back catalogue. Everything up to, I believe, episode 178 had been lost to the internet and the annals of time. Fortunately, that's not quite the case. Turns out, Spotify do still have our episodes going back as far as episode 110. So we're going to be, in the next few weeks and months, undergoing an archive retrieval project where I will be recording and re-editing and re-uploading, hopefully, all of those episodes to our new feed. It's still not quite everything, and I think we do have to be honest and say that everything before episode 110 is probably lost for good now, because the servers that held them have now been retired. And there is no physical backup of those episodes because none of us thought we would need to. Yeah. that didn't work out so well for us. But good news is that we have over a year's worth of episodes that we have rediscovered, and hopefully we should be able to get onto this feed in the future. I'm not even going to say near future, because I know what I'm like and I know how much work is involved in that. It's going to take some time. But yeah, I thought I would just throw it in there now, because I did promise earlier that we had something to talk about and then completely blanked on it. We did an entire episode and I forgot to talk about it. So this is the bonus content at the end of the episode. You guys get to hear that now. Right, once again, Andy, I'll see you next week, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.